The European Union has signed a trade deal with the US almost a year after it was negotiated. The deal removes tariffs for US exports to Europe, but keeps tariffs on EU products going to America. Deutsche Welle's Lars Halter joins us now from Berlin. Lars, g'day. So tell us more about this deal.
Yeah, hi there. It is really not a great deal, and it took Brussels quite a while to actually pass it, and now they finally signed it. But it is actually such a bad deal that some economists here in the EU called it a capitulation to the United States. We see, just looking at the tariffs, that they're very unevenly spread, that the US does not have to pay tariffs for products they are exporting to the EU. However, on the other side, the EU is paying tariffs for products going into the US. Cars come to mind, of course, agricultural goods. And then, of course, there's also the position of LNG purchases that the EU had to agree to buy that from the United States. Not necessarily what they wanted. Those are not great terms all in all. It's a pretty bad deal, and all economists here pretty much agree on that. However, in the world we're living at, of course, the EU, Brussels specifically, they know, of course, that they have to somewhat placate U.S. President Trump in the White House, just hoping that the next couple of years there will be a somewhat normal trading relationship between the two partners, the United States and the EU.
And before this deal was signed, what was this move that France made with its US gold reserve?
Yes, very interesting. France very much in the same boat here as many of the other countries, getting very frustrated over trade and other issues. And now they actually, in trying to gain as much independence from Washington as possible, they actually repatriated their entire gold reserves. Now, one should know, of course, that most of the world's gold, and in particular many countries' official reserves, are stored in the U.S., in New York, in particular at the Federal Reserve's basement vault. And as for France, they had about 130 tons stored there, but not anymore. The Banque de France took 6 months to sell all their New York-based assets and use that money to buy gold at European exchanges, simply with one goal in mind: to no longer have any storages there in the U.S., because under Trump they just not see the country as a reliable partner. And there was also a nice side effect for them between selling the New York gold and repurchasing gold here. They also actually netted a profit of almost 13 billion euros.
Not bad. And are other European nations considering similar actions, especially if they get a profit like France?
Yes, other governments are definitely thinking about taking the same steps here, Germany actually being one of them. As a matter of fact, Germany has even higher gold reserves than France. They're holding around 300 tons stored in New York. And Berlin is just as uncomfortable with that as Paris was. So they were also talking about bringing the gold home. But apparently no one has so far thought about selling and repurchasing gold. In recent years, whenever the topic came up, the Bundesbank, that is Germany's federal bank, they said it would be too costly and too complicated to literally bring all the gold across the Atlantic. They looked at the weight, the number of flights it would take, the security risk, of course. Berlin looked at all this as a logistics problem. France now found a market-based solution. So it's unclear whether Germany will now act and repatriate its own reserves, maybe following the French example, but it's definitely something that's been discussed.
Okay, Lars Halter there in Berlin. Sydney's Vivid Festival is lighting up the city tonight for its 2026 return. The 22-day event features more than 200 installations and the return of